Hi, I'm Jilly G. Welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to show you my almond cranberry sour cream cake. And gluten-free, of course. And my oven is preheated to 350. And I have a Bundt pan. You could do this in a 9x13 pan, and you would just put your batter in, swirl in your cranberry sauce, and then your nuts. But this way we can layer it. And I just have some flour in this cup and some softened butter. It's not very soft. And I'm just gonna butter my pan really well. It's got all these creases here that you want to butter really well, and then we'll flour it. And I really like using a pastry brush because you can really get all of these creases here. And now just knock your flour around. And the hard part is getting inside of the tube. Set that aside. I'm going to clean up all of our flour. Once your pan is ready, we're going to start mixing our cake batter. And I've got one stick, half a cup of really soft butter. And once you've got that mixed up a little bit, I've got a half a cup of honey. And just mix together your honey and butter until they're really combined. If you were using white sugar, it would be 1 cup. Once you've got your honey and butter mixed together, I'm going to start adding in my eggs. I've got 3 eggs, and we'll go one at a time. Our second egg. And our third egg. And with our third egg, I have 1 teaspoon of vanilla and 1 teaspoon of almond extract. And you could add orange extract or orange juice in place of the almond and vanilla if you don't like either of those. And then you could add, have a cranberry orange cake. That works really good. I've done that before. But the almond cranberry is what we're doing today. And I've got about 1 cup of toasted chopped almonds all ready to go. And I didn't mix my dry ingredients yet, but right here I've got 2 cups of my gluten-free flour. I have 1 teaspoon of baking powder, so right here I've got 2 cups of my gluten-free flour, and I have 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and half a teaspoon of salt. All in there. It's a very big spoon, but we'll just mix it together. I can use this spoon to spoon in my batter. And I've got 1½ cups of sour cream. Everything is at room temperature, and we're going to alternate between our flour and our sour cream. So we'll add a little bit of flour. I'll probably go in about thirds. Sour cream. More flour. I'll probably go the rest of the sour cream. And the last of the flour. I'm going to switch back to my spatula and scrape down the bowl. Make sure there's nothing stuck on the bottom. And that's it for the batter. Pretty easy. So bring over your pan. I'll use my spoon. And I'm going to go about half of the batter into the pan. And just kind of evenly put it around. And I'm just kind of eyeballing half of the batter. Maybe add a little bit more if you feel like you need it to be even. Maybe just a little bit more. And this is homemade cranberry sauce that I made. When cranberries are in season, I usually will buy a whole bunch of them and stick them in my freezer. But for recipes like this, I'll usually do a large batch of cranberry sauce and then put it in jars and freeze it. Just for recipes like this. And it's thawed. And I'm just giving it a stir. And we're going to go about half of the cranberry sauce and just pour that on top of the batter. And then just swirl it with your knife. And then sprinkle about half of your nuts on. And then go again with your batter. I switched back to my spatula so I can scrape the bowl. And then just carefully spread your batter over this layer of cranberry sauce and almonds. And then repeat again with the cranberry sauce. And then using your knife again, just swirl this into. And then sprinkle on the rest of your nuts. Okay. If you feel like during baking this top part's getting a little darker than you want before your inside is done, you can just cover this with foil. So this will go into the oven. I'll check it at about 45 minutes, but it will probably go a full hour. And it'll be hard to tell with the toothpick trick because you're not going to get all cake. But you'll want the top of it to be pretty firm and not burnt. While my cake is in the oven, I'm going to show you the glaze topping. And I've got about 3 tablespoons of butter and just shy of a half a cup of honey. If you were using powdered sugar for this instead of the honey, it would be about a cup and a half of powdered sugar. And you would just mix that with your butter. And if you're using orange instead of the almond, you would do a little bit of orange juice. But I have a half a teaspoon of almond extract. And we'll just mix that in. And you'll notice it isn't a glaze like a powdered sugar glaze will be. But it works really well. And now that our glaze is ready, I'm just going to set it on top of my stove. And that way it won't harden up. It won't melt it, but it will stay a little bit warmer. And then when my cake comes out of the oven and I take it out of the pan, I'll brush that honey butter mixture on and it will soak into the cake. So my cake is looking pretty springy, of course around the edges. I am going to try the toothpick trick just in case. I'm trying to get in where the cranberry sauce is not, but it looks really good. My toothpick is clean. So I'm gonna let this cool for 10 minutes in the pan, and then I'm gonna put it out onto a plate. The main reason being that I've got nuts on the bottom, and if I flip it out, all my nuts will fall through my cooling rack. And it's okay if it's still a little bit warm when we put it on the plate. We want it to be warm so we can put our glaze on and that will soak in. So my cake has been cooling for about 10 minutes. And this is the tricky part. Make sure you have a plate that is big enough. And it sounds like it all came out, but we'll see. Ooh. With Bundt pans, you never know if it's gonna stick, but it looks perfect. Same pastry brush that I buttered my dish with. And my honey butter, I could pour this on, but I actually like to brush the top of it, just to make sure it all gets everywhere I want it to go instead of just big blobs. But you could if you want to. Just pour it on. And because it's still warm, this will seep in and give it extra flavor. And make sure to get all of it. If you were using a powdered sugar glaze, you would wait until it's cooled off completely, and then you could drizzle your glaze on. But because this is honey and butter, I kind of like it when it seeps in, and it will develop a little bit of a crust on the outside, which makes it a little bit crunchy. And I'm just going to keep going with my glaze, and then when it's cooled off, we can cut into it. My cake is nice and cool, and all of that honey butter soaked in. So let's cut into it. It looks really good. I don't know if you could see that I've got the different layers in there, but it looks really good. Let's turn this around so you can see. And let's give it a bite. That is the perfect holiday cake. And it's not overly sweet. And it's not overly sweet. And it's not overly sweet. I'm trying to make a video! And it's not overly sweet. That cranberry sauce in there is just hard enough. And then with the extra honey glaze on there, it's perfect. You could put some whipped cream on here or some ice cream. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you make this, tag me on Instagram and I'd love to see your pictures. And we'll see you on the next video.